Welcome to Tales of Honor, a podcast with a mission to tell the true stories of every recipient of our nation's highest military award, the Medal of Honor. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Tales of Honor podcast. This is episode number 606. I don't have any news or birthdays to go over today, but I do want to mention something that happened on the last episode, and it's going to happen again on this episode. I actually was able to find some both film footage and audio recordings from original Medal of Honor ceremonies through the Nixon Library, which I found very, very interesting. It looks like the ceremonies used to be conducted a little different than they are today. Some of these group ones, the whole citation was not read at the ceremony, which I found interesting, but there was still an introduction to each member just before they received the Medal of Honor, and that is what was played on the last one. It wasn't just some random recording, even though it kind of seemed like that probably to some people who weren't prepared for it. It should have made y'all aware of it, but it's going to happen again this time, and now that I found these, I'm going to try to sprinkle them where I can. Also over on the website, which you'll find a link in the show notes to this story, you will find images which came from, they look like photo negatives that were also shared from the ceremony that day from the Nixon Library as well. So I'll try to put them where I can. So with that being said, go check that out. And if you are here just to listen, let's get on with it, shall we? Today's Tale of Honor. Donald was born on the 18th of April, 1948, in Quality, Kentucky, and he was drafted into the U.S. Army in 1968 in Nashville, Tennessee. He went through basic training at Fort Campbell and shortly after was deployed to the Republic of Vietnam. It was his actions on the 6th of January, 1969, with the 2nd Battalion, 39th Infantry Regiment, 9th Infantry Division, that would later earn him the Medal of Honor. The citation reads,
Staff Sergeant Donald J Jenkins, while serving as a machine gunner with Company A, 2nd Battalion, 39th Infantry, 9th Infantry Division in Kinh Phong Province, Republic of Vietnam on January 6, 1969.
For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, Staff Sergeant Jenkins, then Private First Class, Company A, distinguished himself while serving as a machine gunner on a reconnaissance mission. When his company came under heavy crossfire from an enemy complex, Staff Sergeant Jenkins unhesitatingly maneuvered forward to a perilously exposed position and began placing suppressive fire on the enemy. When his own machine gun jammed, he immediately obtained a rifle and continued to fire into the enemy bunkers until his machine gun was made operative by his assistant. He exposed himself to extremely heavy fire when he repeatedly both ran and crawled across open terrain to obtain resupplies of ammunition until he had exhausted all that was available for his machine gun. Displaying tremendous presence of mind, he then armed himself with 2 anti-tank weapons and, by himself, maneuvered through the hostile fusillade to within 20 meters of an enemy bunker to destroy that position. After moving back to the friendly defensive perimeter long enough to secure yet another weapon, a grenade launcher, Staff Sergeant Jenkins moved forward to a position providing no protection and resumed placing accurate fire on the enemy until his ammunition was again exhausted. During this time, he was seriously wounded by shrapnel. Undaunted and displaying great courage, he moved forward 100 meters to aid a friendly element that was pinned down only a few meters from the enemy. This he did with complete disregard for his own wound and despite having been advised that several previous rescue attempts had failed at the cost of the life of one and wounding of others. Ignoring the continuing intense fire and his painful wounds, and hindered by darkness, he made 3 trips to the beleaguered unit, each time pulling a wounded comrade back to safety. Staff Sergeant Jenkins' extraordinary valor, dedication, and indomitable spirit inspired his fellow soldiers to repulse the determined enemy attack and ultimately to defeat the larger force. Staff Sergeant Jenkins' risk of his life reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the U.S. Army. Don finished up his enlistment in the Army as a staff sergeant, and he received the Medal of Honor on the 2nd of March, 1971, from President Nixon in a ceremony at the White House. He returned home to Kentucky, and he went to work in the local coal mines, where he retired as a general superintendent in 1999. Donald J Jenkins is 74 years old at the time of this recording, and he still lives in Kentucky. And that was a Tale of Honor. Thank you for listening to Tales of Honor, and if you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe and tell your friends and family. Tales of Honor is written and produced by Christoph Ambrosch, and theme music is Loyalty and Duty by Floruz Music. If you have any questions, you can send an email to talesofhonorpodcast@gmail.com, and please be sure to visit talesofhonorpodcast.com for more episodes and information.